I am tasked with shipping my Marantz receiver. When I was picking this up to put it into the box, something shifted inside. And so I'm gonna take a look, make sure some screws don't need tightening, see if I can make sure that it doesn't do any of that shifting in transit, because that's just kind of asking for it if there's something I can do about that. Start by taking off the top. And I did just work on this. I replaced the main filter capacitors and several others. I didn't check every last capacitor in there, and I left the tuner alone. It worked, but I checked other capacitors, particularly those on the main amp board, power supply. I'm doing this without my task light because I've noticed the task light just washes out everything on the bench. For you, my dear viewer, I will do this. See if I can figure out what's moving. And then just tighten up every screw, like especially, I mean, the thing that seems most likely to shift a little bit is the power transformer. It's huge. So I will tighten up those screws if they need tightening, if I can even get to those. That's going to be a trick. Yes, I also, now that I look at these, I remember set the bias and DC bias current and balance, or DC 0 or volt, whatever point. And you can maybe see the new capacitors. Those are so that I could use the old holders. I don't know if these were the originals, but something like that perhaps. And maybe even exactly these. Neoprene spacer basically to hold those capacitors securely without, putting a crimp on them. Alright, so now I'm just going to go around the chassis and tighten up everything, or at least just make sure all these screws are tight, because if it's rattling around in a truck or whatever, some of that could conceivably come loose if it's already a bit loose. Well, this is pretty tight, and here and there I'm finding a little bit of give in terms of tightening. I want to be careful about over tightening screws on these plastic housings though. Huh. Shit. Did I know about that? Is that new? Plastic's broken. The plastic, so this is just an awesome design, not the, yeah, it's broken on this side too, which is why there's a cable tie holding that together. Must have also snapped over here. So I'm going to need to come up with a similar, if somewhat rinky-dink, but effective cable tie type solution. Cable tie here to hold this metal bit with the lights on it to the plastic housing. Alright, battening stuff down. So after repairing that stuff with the cable ties, I went all the way around, went underneath it, took off the bottom plate. Wasn't much to tighten up down there. Took off the faceplate, tightened whatever up, but cleaned the faceplate. When I took off these bolts, they were very loose. And the thing is that those are aluminum and they can't be over tightened, otherwise they'll just strip. You know, it's aluminum bolt into steel threads. So instead of tightening those down too much, I used some thread locker on those. So I hope those will stay in place. Let's see. Yeah, I just went around with a relatively, thicker handled screwdriver on some of the major screws, including the big old power transformer there. Tighten that stuff up. Now, a lot of the screws on the sub plate, the face behind the face plate, have thread locker already on them, so where that was undisturbed, I left that alone. Don't want it to get screwed up in shipping. This thing's really nice and working really well. Considered taping down the dial pointer, but I think the top keeps it from moving very much. Just a little Glad press and seal to keep the dust out and off. I think it should do nicely though. And I've cast about for boxes, but what with the daytime job and putting out YouTube videos, I haven't gotten my act together to get some proper boxes. But I've been holding on to something. I have a box with some history. It is this box for Macintosh MR67 FM tuner. I used it several times to ship my Pioneer PL630 turntable. So you can see where it says hold for class of '89. Has the shipping address 1 Oxford Street, Cambridge, Mass. This is Macintosh packing. Not the peanuts part, but the corner parts, the heavy several layer thick cardboard underpiece, another cardboard overpiece, similarly accordioned, and I think that will do it. I got my turntable back and forth across the country a few times. So I got myself some bubble wrap, a couple of different sizes. Got the fine stuff over there further into the corner, and the coarse stuff. Wrapped it first with the fine stuff, then a couple layers of the coarse stuff, and put it in the box. Put in those sweet accordioned corner pieces. Pack the rest of the spaces with peanuts, including down into the gaps there to sort of reinforce those accordions. So the corner should be good and sturdy. It's got that thick cardboard, multi-layered cardboard piece on the bottom. I will stick the styrofoam and then the other accordion top cardboard piece on top. And that will do it. It ain't going anywhere. Well, it's going to Arizona, but it'll be safe and sound. My dear son just found me this lovely Marantz receiver, model 2252, which indicates that it is a stereo receiver with 52 watts per channel. So we're going to try it first with just testing out the preamp. I've got the preamplifier output connected to the input to the power amp. Alright, so we can tell there's already some hiss there. We've got some hiss, got a little bit of crackle. It's quite a bit of hiss. That would be something we'd want to deal with. Or that was the aux input. Here's the phono. Okay, a bit of a hum. Alright, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the preamp sounds just fine, at least so far. A little crackle, like I noticed in the volume pot, but that actually seems to maybe have gone away for now, just with working the pot just a little bit. Now I'm going to try going straight out of the main amp on the Marantz. Okay, power back on. Let's see what we got. I think that sounds pretty nice. Wow. This was donated to a thrift shop. I feel compelled to mention one more thing. These ADS speakers sound really nice on this Marantz. These are ADS L730s. So today I'm going to open this thing up, probably give the pots some deoxit treatment. At least brush off the front, which is pretty dusty. Brush out the exterior a bit. Just give it the first over. I looked in the manual, but so it wouldn't have been open to probably at least power it on and check the lights. One out here. Oh shit, that's broken is what that is. For festoon. Let's see. Wasn't looking. With the Marantz 2252, even though the lamps that I've got in there, the vintage incandescents, seem to function well enough, they are old and they do produce heat, which will tend to crack and or melt the plastic, although this one doesn't have any signs that the plastic is melting. Still, LEDs might be nice, and I tend to like the cool white of the LEDs in these old dials in that it produces a bluer dial face. Well, it does have a bit of a greenish hue. This time I'll go in through the face to change the bulbs since I've already got this off. All lies and jest, still the man hears what he wants to hear. That's a significantly different look. Nice crisp blue. Doesn't really match the color. How does it look without changing the vellum paper? Do the blues match reasonably well? Let's find out. So I'm going to say that vellum paper looks fine. I'm just not up for friggin' mangling this thing to try to get in there and change it. Just a bit of filth in there that I can adjust. 8 millivolts. This. Okay. 0.0 millivolts. Okay, this is 8.0 millivolts. This one hops from 1 to -1 millivolts. 0. So this is supposed to be 35.0 volts. Alright. It's got this disintegrating old foam. Out of nowhere, the nights. Nobody knows where it's gone from the moon, from the arms. The light for the pointer, dial pointer is out. It's not an easy repair without breaking something. Dial pointer thing's bugging me. Look at that. And there we go. Very sweet. So it's back on my bench. So I had it in my main system and it was intermittent. One of the channels was, the right channel kept going out. So I brought it back down here, used deoxit on all the RCA jacks, and that seemed to get things back into working condition. But when I looked at the test signal on the oscilloscope, I noticed that there was some imbalance in the channels. Forgot to mention, it's one of those things that seems to come and go. Let's see if I can affect it. I guess stay tuned and we'll see what I can figure out. I gave this Marantz 2252 faceplate another cleaning, but I can see that it's still not as beautiful as I might like. Not sure how visible that is for the camera. I'm going to try something that I've done before, once at least, and that is to use this hard beeswax to polish it. So I'm going to get some of the wax onto the cloth. Candle, I think it's also beeswax. Okay, it's not quite as shiny as I'd like it, but what it is doing, and I can tell right now, is that it is evening out the surface. My last video ended with me kind of throwing up my hands on this Marantz 2252. I have a channel imbalance problem, and as near as I can tell, it seems to originate in the preamp or tone board here. But that's as close as I got. In part, the issue with diagnosing the problem is that it's an intermittent problem, that it sometimes isn't so bad and sometimes is worse, and it seems to come and go. It seems to come and go with sometimes moving the chassis around. Where's the touchy bit? Whoa. I affected it. Pushed on a capacitor next to the tape monitor switch. Oh, no, it's not the capacitor. It's that I slip off the capacitor and hit the tape monitor switch. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's something with that switch. So that's got the one. And now I've got this weird waveform coming out of the volume pot. Again, it's mainly something that shows up particularly at low volume. So this is going to be relatively high volume. But now, pretty much identical. Here we are after another round of deoxit. I really didn't think this was going to have any effect. But dang, check it out. We're looking at the outputs from the volume pods. We're down at 3.6 millivolts, 3.5 millivolts on channel A. So that's looking pretty much perfect. I had called it all good on this Marantz 2252. Had it all back together, decided, let me just check the outputs with everything put back together on the scope. So I did that. And there were some issues. In particular, the loudness switch isn't so great. The loudness switch tends to cut one of the channels down by a good fraction unless it's messed with. I thought I could get by with just fixing that one tape monitor switch, that is, cleaning the contacts. I'm gonna have to do, I think I better do all of it. So that was the loudness switch that I just did. There we go. Nicely superimposed waveforms at a reasonable voltage here, looking at the speaker jacks. But looking good in general.